What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hurt Business Podcast. Not only another episode, but part one of the final episode of this year's podcast. What a run we've been on. I'm your host, Faris Shirai, and I'm joined today by my co-host, the other half, my brethren.
Tommy Aspinall.
The real bad man, Tommy Aspinall.
I haven't changed my name. I just realized it's been Tommy Aspinall for how long it's been. I don't even know.
Yeah,
but it's funny. I just noticed it, so I said it.
Yeah. The listeners, they have no idea what the fuck you're saying. In the call room we're in, we can title ourselves whatever we want. And Josh has been Tommy Aspinall probably since the Jailton Almeida win.
Yeah.
Has he even fought Jailton Almeida? I tried to pull one out of my ass from like 2 wins ago.
Tommy's gonna be named quite a bit on this podcast.
All right,
a little foreshadow for you, but
a little hinteroo.
Super pumped for this because this is the best part of the year, obviously, because we're just talking about the best of the best this year. So it's always a good time to just name like all the good shit that's happened this year. So I'm excited to get straight into it.
Yeah. We've
and then, of course, this is the UFC version. We've got the boxing one coming tomorrow. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Excited for that too.
That's all happening. We've hinted at this podcast all year long. That's what makes this so exciting. We've compiled this award show or whatever we're going to call it of a few different categories, and I'm going to list them here just so people have an idea of what they're anticipating. We got Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year, KO of the Year, Submission of the Year, Moment of the Year, our favorite beefs of the year, favorite newcomer, new fighter, and then most anticipated fight of 2025. Good with you, Josh?
Predictions first. How many of these categories will we have the same, the same thought on things? I'm going to go... we got 8 categories. I'm gonna go 2. I'm gonna say we'll have 2 of the same here.
Just 2?
I think just 2. I think we have very different tastes. And overall, it's pretty subjective. But then some things I feel like on this list are pretty fucking, self-explanatory. And I think 2 of these we will have the same exact one. And I think I know. I already got which 2 I think we're gonna have the same of.
Which 2?
Well, I can't say that.
I'm gonna guess 4.
I'll let you know after. You said 4?
I'm gonna guess 4. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Because I think a lot of my list is like I have a number 1, but then I have a 2, 3, and 4.
Right. That's what I'm. Yeah.
Which we're not going to talk about everybody. We're just gonna, just kind of talk about what made number one, and why 2 and 3. Yeah. All right. Let's start.
All right, start off, man.
Fighter of the year. And I think kind of the overall thing I've taken away from the social media has been there's one name, there's only one guy. He has the most title defenses in the light heavyweight in 1 year ever. And he's done it multiple KOs, and that is Alex Pereira. And I feel like social media has like given this guy this victory and made him the fighter of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think I can give him my fighter of the year, if I'm being honest. If I'm being honest, I think the fighter of 2024 is Ilia Topuria, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
it's me for a curveball there. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I definitely think it's Ilia, and I'll tell you why. The man arguably beat 2 of the greatest featherweights in the same year by KO. 2 of whom have Max has never been KO'd, and then Volk was KO'd in his previous fight at a higher weight class on short notice, and there was a lot of like weird things that happened in that fight, and then to parlay that and being the greatest featherweight maybe of all time and get KO'd like that for the first time in this weight class that you've been so dominant in. And then here comes Max Holloway, who just had this big knockout at UFC 300 against Gaethje and is looking invincible. And then Ilya smashes him like that. It knocks him out for the first time in his career, drops him and finishes him. So
Yeah.
that's why Alex was great this year.
That's fair.
But I
That's
just
very
think
fair.
when you look at the competition he has beat, Alex didn't beat John Jones in DC this year. And that's what Ilya did essentially for featherweight. So that's my case.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's very fair. I think that's you named some good points there for Ilya. Yeah, I mean, all great things. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's pretty obvious I'm going Alex Pereira for my fighter of the year. And I was thinking about Ilya as well, and I thought about those things as well. So those were great points by you. But I can't ignore the fact that he's got 3 title defenses this year. Immediately got back in there after 2 months to knock out Jamal Hill, to then go ahead and knock out Jiri Prohaska for the second time, and then get back in there 4 months later to beat a guy who was on a 5-fight win streak, with 4 of them being some of the deadliest KOs this sport has ever seen. Like, these were not John Jones's, and obviously these were not, Daniel Cormier's, like you mentioned. And that's something I put into consideration. But Alex Pereira has been putting on a show at light heavyweight, and this was something that we just really haven't seen in the sport for a long time. Just a guy coming in, doing what he needed to do at middleweight, and then moving up a weight class and making an absolute stamp in the light heavyweight this year, and easily had some of my favorite fights this year. I'm going Alex for that reason. It wasn't an easy pick, obviously, but he, like, 3 title defenses, bro. Like, that's insane. No matter who it is he's fighting the 3 of the best guys in the division at the time. So it's like, all in the span of 8 months. Like, that is incredible. Like, that's something we've never seen in the sport, obviously. So he's breaking records there. And so on top of breaking records and doing it in a dramatic fashion too, like, he's putting these guys to sleep. Like, had questionably, or arguably, I should say, the fight of the year with Khalil. My mind just went blank. Yeah, with Khalil, and then knocked out Jiri 2 times. A guy who seemed invincible coming into the UFC. He was kind of like the dark horse of the UFC, and then putting Jamal Hill out in the first round as well. A lot of first round KOs here, and then Khalil obviously went 5 with him, and made a great effort there. But yeah, Alex is going to be my fighter of the year this year for those reasons. But
I respect
it was a very, very close second for those reasons that you named too. So it was a hard pick, but ultimately,
I absolutely think this award was a 1A, 1B. It just depends what you value, what you enjoyed more.
I agree.
I like that we split. So that is definitely not one of the 2 that we agree on. Noted. Yep. Another name that I had on this list that obviously wasn't, Alex or Ilya, was Joaquin Buckley, bro. I was really impressed with him this year. I think
honorable mention.
5 victories this year in a new weight class, proving yourself as a top dog. His last 2, knocking out Kobe, knocking out Wonder Boy. He's a real threat at the top of that weight class. So he was on my list too, just to mention. Anybody else that you had kind of?
Yeah. I mean, Islam Makhachev could be on 2 of these categories this year. He could be fighter of the year too. Just that fight with Dustin Poirier was insane. And I guess I kind of hinted at that he's not on my fight of the year. But you could have. I honestly wouldn't hate if somebody put him as fight of the year with Dustin Poirier. That was an incredible fight. Yeah, that was. He wasn't as active, but that last round was just insane, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just an incredible fight through and through. But yeah, he would be an honorable mention for me, but definitely not. I wouldn't put him as fighter of the year, but he's up there for sure. He had a great year, as always.
Yeah, per usual. Moving on.
Okay, good first round, man. Yeah. I guess I'll open up this one. You open up the other one. Fight of the year, man. I think this is one of the tougher ones because there's a lot of great options here, man. And when you just put it down to one, you're really, really having to think about, like, okay, who really put on the fight of the year? Like, these are when I think about this category, I'm thinking of two guys who just had an absolute war, absolute clash, and just put everything out in there and just made it such an exciting fight. And this one was a prelim, man, a recent prelim too, at UFC 308 back in October when Ilya Taporia and Max Holloway fought. Mateusz Rebecki versus Midabek Oralbai, man. A fucking prelim fight, dude. This fight was fucking crazy. And this was like right when I got back from my trip. First card of the year. First card for me back after my vacation. And this fight was just fucking... This was just an insane fight, man. One of the bloodiest fights I've ever seen. Oralbai, if you guys have probably seen this fight, but Oralbai, got caught pretty early. And, Mateusz, once he got him to the ground, bro, this was fucking nasty. Like, this is a fight. If somebody's never watched UFC, you show them this fight. This is your introduction to the sport. You're gonna watch this fight. This is the fight this is a modern day fight that I'm gonna start using for people that have never seen this sport ever. Watch this fight.
I hope you got the stomach for it. That's all I got.
Yeah, you're gonna need the fucking stomach for this one. Ferris is right about that one. But Mateusz, like, once he got Oralbai to the ground, this was just some of the most nasty ground and pound I've ever seen, bro. Busted the guy's eye wide open. It almost looked like his eye was about to explode out of his head. And honestly, like, it just has everything, man. It's got stand up. It's got blood. It's got eyes bursting. It's got a fair share. Oralbai got his fair share too. He made Mateusz bleed as well. That guy was leaking blood. Like, this was just so fucking brutal, man. And it was a hard one, but this was definitely my fight of the year, just for that reason. Like, whenever you think two guys just going back and forth, leaving it all in the octagon, like, this is what I think of. This is like a fucking slugfest, bro. Just two guys going at it. Okay. It was fucking 3 rounds, bro.
Yeah.
I want to see a rematch of this fight. I think it would be even better the second time.
Yeah. Let's run it back. Headline, Apex, or in front of a crowd. Yeah. Headline, 5 rounds.
And to think this was a prelim, dude. Insane.
Yeah, I remember that. What I remember most about that fight was Oralbai, like, his eye was like fucking dismantled, and then the doctors came in, checked on him, and somehow he got past the doctors. He pulled, and then the fight got
even better.
Yeah, he pulled a Bisping live on TV, and then the fight got better, and awesome fight of the year. Honestly, I kind of forgot about that fight.
And it was it was like, because it was in the prelims, and it was back in October.
Yeah,
so it's an easy one to forget. But when I was really doing some digging, I was like, "Fuck, dude, this one was really crazy."
Wow, this card is fantastic too. Looking at this full card now, 308 was an awesome time.
Crazy
was an awesome time. I have a few mentions. I'll resort back to this card a little later.
For sure. I'm sure we will.
But great fight of the year again. I think that was one of them ones. Another one of them ones that I believe was on the prelims as well. Happened at UFC Noche. No, this was actually main card time, but this might have been the first fight on the main card. It was Daniel Zellhuber versus Sebastian.
Yeah,
bro, that was a fucking scrap diddly-umptious. And Daniel Zellhuber had all the stock in the world going into that fight, and then he got hurt, and he's kept the fight coming. He's the Mexican in front of all his people. It was just so much, so much of everything in that fight. So that was for sure my fight of the year. Both guys getting dropped, hurt, still coming on, resilient. Yeah, that was a scrap.
That was a crazy one. Daniel, and another one too. Like, two guys putting everything in out there in the octagon, and it was a slug fest, bro. Like, that was one I was thinking about too, for sure. This was definitely up there for me. But it just wasn't as bloody for me as the Mateusz one. The Mateusz was just way too bloody.
So you got to see blood in order to rank in fight of the year. It's like part of the category, like the checklist.
That's how you get in there, man. If you're leaking, if you're an easy, if you're a guy who just bleeds easy, go out there, man. Lay it all on the ground. And you're gonna be fight of the year, bro. That's all you need.
You'll be mentioned here on the pod at the end of the year.
No, a great pick, man. Honestly,
honorable mentions. Khalil Alex, man.
Yeah, I think that is easily my honorable mention. That was the one I was thinking about going with, along with Daniel Suber. Just the thing was, it ended. You know, it didn't go the full 5 rounds for me. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, Khalil tried as hard as he could. He took Alex further than anybody else had at light heavy, and he definitely got beat up, but he definitely kept bringing the fight. So yeah, that was honorable mention.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, KO of the year, man. Lay it out.
KO of the year. I mean, there's so many different angles, bro. There's so many different angles. There's like a mainstream KO that's like a world title, viral. Like, all right, I'm gonna just give 2. I'm gonna give 2.
Come on, man. Do the first. Do your number 1.
Are we doing?
And then 3? do your second one. Oh, you did the 3. Okay. I just have 1. 3? I have the best. No question about it. My favorite of the year. Wow. I just have 1.
Wow. All right. Well, if you phrase it like that, then I'll do my absolute favorite of the year. Craziest KO to me was Max Elia.
You say Max and Elia?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when Elia knocked out Max, that was unfucking believable, dude. Like, again, that's somebody who never got even hurt at featherweight. He got never seen the canvas, let alone get finished. And then he gets it wasn't even like a flashy punch or like anything spectacular that got him. It was just the fact that Max Holloway, who seemed invincible, or at least never seemed to be able to get KO'd at featherweight, that ended up happening. So to me, that was probably my KO of the year. But number 2, I absolutely loved the Shara Bullet double spinning back fist, bro.
Oh my god, that was
I love that shit, man. When it happened live, I just remember like me and I remember the commentators, John Anik, just screaming, and I was doing the same shit. Me and Anik were like talking to each other like at the top of our lungs. It was so fucking cool. So yeah, that's my callback to that card, UFC 308, and my honorable mention. What about you, brother? What was your KO of the year?
My KO of the year was Vinicius Oliveira versus Nardo Sapaj. That running flying knee was disgusting. That was easily, that there was no question about it. That was my KO of the year. And it was crazy because Nardo was like a newer fighter this year, and he was pretty hyped. And he got in there and he was fucking Oliveira up for 2.5 rounds. He was fucking him up. Oliveira started to come back a little late in the second round, and that's where I was like, okay, he's kind of turning up here. But dude, that flying knee came out of nowhere. Literally, it came out of nowhere. Like he hit Sapaj with a pretty clean jab. Sapaj got a little dizzy, started falling back to the fence, and Oliveira just fucking ran at him. It just threw that flying knee. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and it was almost the end of the round too, right? It was almost the fight.
Almost the end, bro. It was like 30 seconds left. Yeah. And Sapaj was a fucking lifeless body at the end of that, bro. He was done. Like literally limp. Arms were just dangling. Like he was gone out of this planet, bro. That knockout was, honestly, there was no question about it. That was pretty self-explanatory for me, honestly. That was crazy.
Yeah, that one is an awesome KO. That's a good one. Any honorable mentions? Any other ones that stood out to you?
I want to. Yeah, there was an honorable mention, and obviously that was Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. Like,
oh wow,
just another lifeless body knockout. Yeah, from Max Holloway, slumped him, dude.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that happened. Fariziam's knee to Favola.
Yeah. Literally cracked his skull, bro.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. That was
bad. I love the Urseg versus Matt Schnell. Remember that one? It was earlier in the year. they were
Oh yeah,
boxing and
Steve
Schnell.
Urshak, yeah,
Yeah, Urshak hit him with a clean hook, and there
yeah,
goes Schnell. That was
yeah.
beautiful.
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. Those were some of my other favorite KOs of the year for sure.
Nice, very good. Yeah, I like your KO of the year. I definitely think that was a pretty unexpected one. But if there was anybody that would have done it to Max Holloway, it probably would have been Ili Taporia. But great list there. All right, sub of the year, man. Sub of the year. Now there's a lot of good submissions this year. A lot of interesting ones, but one that really stood out to me was Paddy Pimblett's triangle on Bobby Green, man, in the first round too at UFC 304. And honestly, Bobby set himself up for this one. And we were probably expecting a submission from Paddy, but man, he immediately jumped on that guillotine and he was ready, man. Then he started slowly moving into that triangle choke, and then he had the arm bar with it. So it's kind of like a double submission there, but I'm pretty sure Bobby tapped from the triangle choke rather than the arm bar. The arm bar was tight though. Like he would have broke the arm, but dude, a double submission, bro. A double submission attempt is like you don't see that ever, bro. Like it's usually just a guillotine. Usually sometimes you'll get an arm bar, but a triangle choke in an arm bar, bro. What the fuck, bro? Like Paddy is just, I know I share on him sometimes because like he's just like he's so annoying sometimes, but dude, he's so good, man. Like
he is, yeah.
Who thinks of like going for a double submission? Like it's so risky, it's so dangerous when you could easily just go for one submission, call it a day. But to go out in style like that, impressive. Easily submission of the year for me.
Respect. Yeah, that one was a thing of beauty. Paddy Pimblett's a bastard when it comes to submissions. So I imagine he in the next few years he'll definitely have a lot more KOs of the years from Joshy on the show.
For sure, yeah.
I have two.
Nice.
I have two for this category. I didn't know where to. I didn't know which. It's tough when it comes to best one. I think the one I was most impressed by. The one that was like, actually, I'm going to do my honorable mention first, and then I'm going to do my favorite.
You got to do the best one first, bro.
I feel like I got to set this up a little bit better. I feel like I got to let you sit in the
yeah. All right.
Honorable mention, I think anytime T-City hits a T-City, you got to mention him, bro. You got to mention him. Brian Ortega this year hit it on Yair Rodriguez after getting the shit kicked out of him for like 15 minutes straight, just losing on the feet, getting dropped a few times, and then in true T-City fashion, just on his back, getting ground and pound and finding a submission, bro.
Yeah, I can't argue that one.
I love that one, so that's definitely had to make my list. And probably my number one KO of the year, favorite moment in terms of submissions, must have been the time not too long ago at UFC 308 in the co-main event where Islam rearranged, where Hamza Chimaev rearranged Robert Whittaker's entire bottom jaw, bro.
Yeah.
And the way he submitted, like that whole situation gotta be your KO of the year. Not even like a flashy sub. It was nothing special, just a classic rear naked, but like Robert Whittaker is elite. And he had that boy, he had Robert trying to get out of there like his life was like on the line. And that was just scary to see. So for sure, Hamza gets up my sub of the year, number one.
I really truly thought you were going to be a dickhead and go with the rear naked choke on Izzy. I really thought you were going that direction. I thought you were going to be a dickhead.
There's nothing more I enjoy than being a dickhead when it comes to your favorite fighters, but I think I might dislike DDP more than my enjoyment good trolling you. So I'm gonna sit that one out.
That submission was that's a good way to put out a former champion for sure, but it was not even remotely the craziest submission we've seen this year, let alone of all time. But I thought you were gonna be a dickhead and throw that one in there just to lick your chops a little bit.
I should have trolled you a bit, but nah, fuck DDP. DDP.
All right, man. Moment of the year.
Yeah, moment of the
And
year. Moving
yeah,
on.
go ahead.
I'm gonna intro this one, and I'm gonna let you do favorite beefs because I didn't know where the fuck to go with favorite beef, if I'm being honest. So
Okay.
I'll let you dance lead on that. But for moment of the year, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think they were two, but number one has to be number one. Has to be. Has to be. My honorable mention was DDP. I'm not gonna do it to you. I'm not gonna say DDP submitting your guy. Was Dustin Poirier knocking out BSD. And at the time, that was such a big win because BSD was the newcomer Frenchman who was like a former military guy, still is, but like everybody feared him. The UFC made it seem like. And then here comes the OG, Dustin Poirier, puts him in his place and finishes him in front of a live crowd, and people went nuts. And that was an awesome moment. But I think the absolute number one moment of the year, and this I feel like should be like if we don't agree on this, I don't know, brother. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was at UFC 300 where Max Holloway was like, and everybody who really fucks with fighting and knows what happened in that moment was on the tip of their seat, and everybody was fucking locked in, bro. Everybody. And then the moment happened. Justin Gaethje got finished, lifeless body, as you talked about, and the KO of the year was there lifeless, and the crowd went fucking stupid. And no matter wherever you were in this world, your room, if it was just you, it went stupid.
Yeah.
And so this was moment of the year. And I feel like it should be a universal thing, but please. What was yours?
Yeah, I think my moment of the year is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there should be no. I mean, this moment of the year can be a number of things. It could have been fight of the year. It could have been KO of the year. It could have been a number of things, man. It could have been fighter of the year, but and that's why we have this category, because it's just like the best moment we've seen this year, bro. And honestly, there's really no other moment of the year in my opinion. So my moment of the year, man. My moment of the year. What's my moment of the year gonna be? What do you think, bro?
Come on, bro.
My moment of the year is when Miranda Maverick.
Man.
Nah, man. My moment of the year is Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory, man. Like when you paint the whole picture of it too, leading up to this moment, we know Max lost his belt back in 2020 to Volk, took 3 tough losses, questionably 2 tough losses to Volkanovski. And then he beat every single guy in his way since and before that. Lost 1 fight against Dustin Poirier, but somehow going into this fight, he was still doubted. He was still doubted by Justin Gaethje, and I was like, wow, that really shocked me. He was still not the favorite for this, even after everything he's done in the sport. And when he told, and I think the even crazier part about this is he was like telling Justin, he was like, yo, let's meet in the end of this fight. If we survive this fight, let's meet in the end and we're going to slug it out. And they both kept their promise, man. And Max went out there. He said, yo, look at the time. Get in there. And they kept their word, man, and they slugged it out. And yeah, this is one of the craziest moments of the craziest moment actually of the year. There's no question about it. And this could have been KO of the year. And honestly, I thought this was going to be your KO of the year. But I was wrong.
Yeah, it's all right, man. It happens. We're not always right. But I'm glad we did agree.
Your KO of the year was the guy who potentially had KO of the year.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how it works? He was on the receiving end of the KO of the year.
On the receiving end of it. Man, Max Holloway would have been my honorable mention, 100% for fight of the year if he beat Ilya Taporia.
Oh,
100%.
for sure. Yeah.
After that knockout against Justin, and then gets the belt back, easily fight of the honorable mention. But
yeah, I think it would have been Alex, Max, everybody.
Alex Mack. Yeah, I agree. Just a crazy comeback story that would have been, but got slumped, man. Got slumped. But
happens. All right, man. Favorite beef of the year. What did you think?
Now, this is kind of a weird one, man. And I feel like I'm breaking the rules with this one. I feel like I am. But you got to hear me out on this one. It'll make sense. Tom Aspinall and John Jones. This is my rivalry / beef of the year. And I'm going to tell you why, man. I'm going to tell you why. It's going to make sense. It's going to make sense. So we know what happened to Tom back in July 2022. You know, got that injury against Curtis Blades 14 seconds into the fight. And we saw how John Jones reacted back then. You know, at that point, John Jones wasn't even in a fight yet. I think he might have had a scheduled fight with Cyril. But he was talking a lot of shit, man. And, you know, that's 2022. So now we're a little bit off track with that. But I'm building the story here. Then we know Tom took a year off and came back a year after. Literally, came back a year later and fought a day after the injury that happened back in 2023. Beat Marcin Tybura, knocking him out. One of the most dangerous guys in the top 10 at that time. Then got his fair one back with, fought, I left out Spivak, knocks out Spivak. And then, which was probably one of the more dangerous guys, too, in the division at the time. And then got his fair one back this summer with Curtis Blades, knocking him out in less than a minute. I mean, Tom is just special, man. And John Jones has been fucking hating on Tom. And I have a couple instances of that. And this is my rivalry of the year. And I remember during media week, John Jones, when he was going to go fight Stipe, John Jones walks into a interview, and Tom Aspinall was hiding behind one of the curtains. And John noticed one of Tom's guys back there and immediately walks out. He's like, nah, I'm not doing this interview. Doesn't say why, but he's just like, nah, I'm not doing this interview. And then we got some footage later on of, with Tom's team, and, him like kind of setting up, hiding in John Jones' interview. And they were going to plan on jumping out during his interview, which would have been fucking hysterical, by the way. But we didn't get that moment, but we did get Tom walking out and saying, "Where's he going? Where you going, buddy?" So it was a funny moment. And then, of course, we know what happened with John and Stipe, that beat him in devastating fashion. This is probably just my favorite rivalry of the year, just because, these two are easily the best guys in light heavyweight right now. John Jones being one of the best fighters of all time, if not the best fighter of all time, arguably. Definitely the best heavyweight of all time. And Tom is just the best guy in the division for the challenger, as a challenger. So there's really no other rivalry that I've been more interested in this year. And obviously I've talked so much about it on the podcast already. But just to end it off, Dana actually said today that I have a surprise for you guys, 2025. This is going to be undoubtedly the best and greatest fight in the history of the sport. There's nobody else he's hinting at. There's literally nobody else he's hinting at but Tom and John. There's nobody else. This, no question about it. This fight will easily be if not the best, the most highest gross fight in the history of the sport. Obviously, Khabib and Conor still have that. I think they had 2.3 million buys or something, which is fucking crazy. But there's never been more eyes on the sport until now. And two of the best guys, one of the best guys in the history of the sport, fighting the best guy, the best challenger, bro. I need that.
Yeah,
I need all of this, bro.
Yeah,
so that's my rivalry of the year. I kind of broke the rules on that because they didn't really have a rivalry to a certain extent, but there were some good moments between them. And these two guys, they got to fight, bro. So there's something there.
I expected us to talk about this matchup, not for this category.
Yeah, and that's we'll see later. We'll talk later.
Yeah. I'm gonna say my favorite beef of the year had to have been Manel Cape versus Israel Adesanya at that press conference. Might have been my favorite rivalry.
Okay, so you went a little goofy on this one.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
even think that's my final answer. I don't even know if I have an answer. I mean, there was fun shit talking moments, like when DDP and Sean Strickland were like going back and forth at the press conference,
Yeah.
and DDP mentioned Sean Strickland's dad, and this is a guy who's like, "Don't cry, be a bitch." You're a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And then like he's on the verge of tears and talking about, "Don't say that. Don't talk like that." And that was a crazy and funny moment.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Manel, like there's been so many different like talking shit situations and people going back and forth. There was no rivalries of the year, man, where people just like back, talking shit that like stands out. So I think it's okay you broke the rules this year.
Yeah.
All right.
Favorite new fight of the year. Another one I kind of broke the rules on just a little bit.
Damn. Well, we're just breaking rules. I'm gonna go goofy again. My favorite new fighter of the year is blonde tatted Dan Hooker.
I'm glad you went with that. I'm glad you went with that.
Yeah,
Damn, I wish I went a little bit more goofy.
That's my answer, bro. I think this new resurgence of Dan Hooker, you know, with these new tattoos, the blonde hair, this new like. First of all, the media is awesome. I don't know if you listen to Dan Hooker interviews, but that guy's fucking hilarious. And then he's winning fights these days. So I think whatever he's been doing, keep on getting those tattoos, bro.
Yeah.
Keep on doing it.
Yeah. He's the new mystical fighter of 2024.
For sure he is. For sure he is.
I like that answer. I like that answer. I broke the rule a little bit on this one. Yours was good. You were spot on for favorite new fight of the year, but I broke the rule a little bit because this fighter has fought last year, not a lot last year, and he is still new. He is still like fresh in the sport, not ranked still. So I feel like I didn't really break the rule with this one, but Peyton Talbot, man. Peyton Talbot is my favorite new fighter.
All right.
Yeah, obviously, like I said, not new this year. It's not his first year in the UFC. We haven't really had anybody this year where I'm like all ecstatic about. But we know Peyton. He was in the UFC Contender Series in August of last year. Only had 2 fights, but he's easily my new favorite fighter. I've talked about him already. For the bantamweights, he's tall. He's got quick hands. He's powerful. Good wrestling. Takedown defense is crazy. Like he's kind of like a complete fighter for me. Just some other things too that he's done. He's got the second fastest KO in bantamweight history at 19 seconds. Impressive. He's got like a record in the Contender Series where he's got like 16 takedown defenses in a fight against Reyes Cortez, and he had 135 significant strikes in that fight too, which is like record-breaking stuff for the Contender Series. But honestly, all in all, I like Peyton. I think easily he's got a fight in January 8th against Rony Barcelos, which is a veteran, a Brazilian veteran. So it'll be a tough fight. But I think he'll win it, and he'll definitely see him in the top 15 by summer of next year. I want to see a fight against Montel Jackson. I think that'd be a great opener fight for him. Montel is right at number 15 too. Got another guy, 5-fight win streak, 3 of them KOs. Dangerous guy for Peyton, but just honestly a great introduction for the bantamweights for Peyton. But I love Peyton, man. I'm all on board with him. Favorite fight of the year for sure. Favorite.
I like it. Honestly, I thought you were gonna say somebody like MVP who like, somebody shitty and random like that, who's a newcomer, didn't have an exciting year. Like I like that pick a lot because honestly, heading into this new year, if we were talking about like we're gonna talk about most anticipated fights, but if we were talking about fighters, I think a young guy like a Peyton Talbot is a fantastic.
And I thought he was. Yeah, and I thought he was the great answer because he has 9 fights. He has 9 fights in
professional,
general. 9 professional fights. And he was a wrestler before that. So, like, this guy is really – I mean, he said something. He was like, I remember he was saying in an interview one time, he was like, man, I'm so glad I gave up on wrestling, man. MMA is just so much more fun. Like, I was just thinking about that too. I was like, damn, this kid's got like a good attitude too, but like fucking only 9 professional fights and he's fucking breaking records already in the sport. Like, I'm excited for his future. That's why he made the list. But
Yeah,
I broke it a little bit. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
you did. No, I think you get the pass, bro. I went goofy. You went a newcomer.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think honorable mention for me is gonna be the fighting team nerds, like all of them dudes, all of them, bro. Carlos Baratas, Gene Silva, Mauricio Ruffy, Kaio. Kaio's like my favorite dude to use in UFC 5. He's a really underrated. He's nasty in the game. People got to use him more often. But yeah, I think that whole team in general, like we should all be paying attention to them heading into 2025.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Most anticipated. I broke the rule on this one again, man. I forgot. I did. I have 2.
Let's hear them. Who do you got?
But should I do my number 1? Or
Nah. You do honorable mention and then set us up for number 1. I have a feeling who your number 1 is, and I feel like we should all have number 1 at number 1. But go ahead. Let's hear.
Well, I mean, once you hear my honorable mention, you're gonna know what my number 1's gonna be. Which, if I'm correct on this one, I'll be right. We'll have 2 of the same ones. But honorable mention: Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Nurmagomedov. That's my honorable mention. I'm so hyped for this fight, honestly. Nasruddin is, if one more from getting a title, 2 guys that I enjoy watching. And honestly, this is Israel Adesanya's first fight that's not a title fight in 7 years. Mm-hmm. So not much more to say about that. Just will be interesting to see Izzy in a non-title fight for 7 years now, which is really impressive. Like, I'm not going to go through Izzy's accolades, some of the longest reigning, number 3 for the longest reigning in middleweight history, one of the longest in the sport's history, little slight 6.5 years being a champion, nothing crazy.
Feel me?
But it will be fun. I like Nasruddin, I like Israel Adesanya, but ultimately not just Israel being in a non-title fight. This is a very different Israel Adesanya who doesn't want to fight for a title anymore. He wants to fight everybody now. So I like that. I like Izzy. He's kind of already solidified himself in the UFC with his title reign, being number 3. Could have beat Chris Weidman and got that number 2. It would have been nice if he was right under Anderson Silva, but Chris Weidman just had a crazy title run as well in the middleweight. So will be exciting to see this fight. But my number 1, it's pretty obvious where I'm going here. We've already had these 2 names on the podcast already, Tom Aspinall, John Jones. I want to see this fight 2025. I think this is the only year we'll be able to see this fight. John Jones is not getting any younger. Tom Aspinall is only getting better. So the longer we wait, the worse for this fight to happen, and the worse it'll be for John Jones, in my opinion. So I want John Jones as fresh as possible in his title reign as a heavyweight in this division. Like I said, he's not getting any younger, man. And like I said earlier, Dana White hinted at possibly the biggest fight in the sport's history. There's not even a set of names I can think of that would top that. Conor McGregor has held that for 7 years now with Khabib Nurmagomedov back in 2018? No, it was like right. When did they fight? Was it 2016? No, Khabib and Conor. I can't remember when that was. It was a while ago when they fought. It was UFC 229.
2018.
2018. I was right. So they still hold the title for the highest pay-per-view ever in the history of the sport. There's not a single fighter that I think will top that besides John Jones and Tom Aspinall. I don't think anybody else will do it. I think that's what Dana's hinting at, and I want to see that next year. I think you want to see it next year too. So go ahead.
Absolutely.
So go ahead and just say it.
I hate to say this, but you are correct, brother. We do agree on 2 categories total in
I knew it
our
was
end
gonna
of
be
year MMA. Yeah, you made a lot of great points, bro. I think Tom Aspinall versus John Jones is the fight, the only fight, and the biggest fight that could compete with Connor and
yeah,
Khabib.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like Tom Aspinall can just continue beating the shit out of everybody else, or John Jones can fight him.
Yeah.
Like what else? What do we like? Those are our 2 options. We all know we
Yeah.
want to see. Is John Jones going to give us that? We'll see in this new year. I want to mention your honorable mention, Izzy versus Imavov. I'm so excited
Wow.
about that fight.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited about that fight, bro. What, you're impressed about my pronunciation?
It's good.
Yeah,
It was good.
I'm trying to
Not
be
so
better
deep.
in this new year.
Not so deep.
Nasordine. But I'm excited about that fight mainly because Izzy's been in title fights for like ever, it feels like. And this is going to answer us a question of, is he going to get back to that level ever again? If he comes out sluggish or not, like if he comes out how he did against DDP against Nasruddin, it might be the end of the beautiful road for your boy. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's the ultimate question that this fight is going to answer for us. He could smash Nasruddin and we can be like, he's still him. But yeah, that's for sure that. And lastly is the first UFC pay-per-view of the new year. I thought you were going to mention this one mainly because you were calling for this fight for like the past 2 years on the podcast, and it's finally happening. Arman versus Islam 2 for a belt this time around. With all the improvements both guys have made, Islam on world championship scale and Arman beating all the contenders on a run to the title, makes for an exciting fight. And you've talked about it a dozen times, so we don't got to go into depth, but I thought you were going to mention that one.
Yeah, I figured I might as well go with 2 on this because I didn't want to cheat too much.
Yeah.
And these 2 were easily like I like Arman and Islam. Don't get me wrong. I'm so excited for that fight, but my most anticipated definitely got to be these 2. Like, I'm so excited for these.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year, man.
Yeah, and not to toot my own horn, but I knew we would have the same moment of the year and the same most anticipated fight. I was being on the safer side. There was no way we could have different ones for these. So I knew I was right on that.
Yeah, you were doing well on like pulling prelim KO and fights of the year, which I gotta say that's well, because I texted you 12 times this week, like don't forget to do your research, and here you are doing more research than me. Kudos to you, bro. Anything else on 2025 MMA UFC things that you're looking forward to? Fighters that you're got circled. You mentioned Talbot. Anything else in terms of like UFC in 2025 that you want to talk about?
I mean, yeah, I'm really curious who's going to start fighting Pantoja. I think that's kind of the biggest question right now. Is like now they've brought in some guy from Japan, a guy outside of the organization. You know, Pantoja's beat all of these guys 2 times, some of them 3. So that's my biggest what if of 2025. I know that wasn't on the list, but that's probably my biggest what if. If you had a big what if, just on top of your head, let's add that at the end. What's your biggest what if 2025? Is Izzy going to retire after he loses to Nasruddin? Is Izzy, what are we thinking?
Nah, I'm gonna stem away from Izzy since I talked about him a second ago. I'm gonna go. Is Conor McGregor gonna return in 2025?
That's a good one, actually.
Is that gonna actually happen? Because we've been saying it, I think, since like 22, right? Wasn't that his last time he fought that year? We were like, oh, what's next year? Oh, 2023. Yeah. Is he gonna come back? 2024. Now 2025.
My favorite fight of the year actually is Conor McGregor versus cocaine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's end it there. Mic drop after that. Thank you to the listeners. If you made it to this part of the podcast, listen to our award show for 2024. Go ahead and comment if you agree with Josh and I on any of these, and also who is your fighter of the year, fight of the year, KO of the year, sub of the year, and most anticipated new beef. all the categories. Go ahead and comment who's yours, and follow us on the socials at HBP Pod on Insta, TikTok, Facebook. We're everywhere. And like Josh said at the top, come back tomorrow to get our boxing version of the award show.